Cole.
You're kidding. Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get down.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 295 of the Rotten Reviews podcast. Crazy to think that we've been doing this podcast that long, but it just feels like yesterday when we started it. I appreciate everyone for showing up to another new episode. Hopefully everyone will enjoy this one. We're switching it up a little bit still. We're doing an action thriller for today from 1986. We are talking about Omega Syndrome. But of course, maybe you're a new listener, maybe you're looking this up on a podcast platform, you already know what the movie is at hand, but maybe you don't know what this podcast is. If you're a new listener, I'm going to let you know right now to start off the podcast. I'm going to be talking about this movie from start to finish, hit all the points in between that interests me. So that means it's going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. Then again, every episode of the podcast is spoiler heavy because that's just how I do the podcast. So I just want to warn you now, just so you guys are aware before you get too far into the episode at hand. But for all you returning listeners, you guys already know all that. And you're still here each and every single week, which is crazy. But I appreciate it. And if you're a new listener, hopefully you'll check out the back catalog of other episodes. Other bad movies, good movies, horror movies, actions, comedies, couple animes. There's a little bit of everything for everyone, I believe, and hopefully you guys will hit that subscribe button, follow the podcast, whatever it might be, but we'll mention that kind of stuff in a few seconds here, because we're going to talk about that stuff in the housekeeping section. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been showing up for the episodes, showing support, leaving comments, all that other fun stuff. I appreciate it very, very much. I know I say it every episode. I repeat myself a few times. I'm not trying to pad out the runtime of the episode at all. I'm just wanting to show my love and appreciation to you guys because, this is a fun little project that I do every single week for myself. And, I'm enjoying the fact that people actually enjoy listening to me talk about weird movies that they probably never even heard of before. Because at the end of the day, this whole podcast was created for me to pretty much make myself watch movies I haven't seen before. And of course, watch some movies that I have seen before, revisit ones. But I don't need a reason to re-watch a movie I already enjoy. I need a reason to watch movies I've never seen before, because that's how you find new movies that you love. Like Eye of the Tiger. It was a fun one. It's Gary Busey, though. I'm a sucker for Gary Busey. He's a horrible actor, but he's a fun one at least. He's a little psycho. But let's jump into the housekeeping section right now.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towel?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
As always, if you want to help out the podcast, feel free, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, leave a comment, leave a like, hit the share button, follow, whatever you can do. But the main thing you can do is definitely hitting that share button. It does help out a lot. Share on your X account, Thread account, Facebook. Share with some friends, some coworkers, some enemies. Leave it on for the animals to listen to while you're gone at work. Whatever it might be, I appreciate every little bit. It does help out a lot. If you're listening on Spotify, feel free to leave a star review. If you want to leave us 5-star, I appreciate that very, very much. If you want to leave anything else, that's fine as well. Even the 1-star, it's fine. I'll find you in GTA. We'll be in a public lobby, and I'll blow up your supplies. But that's fine. I'm not bitter about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But in all seriousness, just leave whatever review or rating that you want. It's totally up to you. Even if you don't want to leave one, that's fine as well. I'm not forcing, and I'm not going to beg you guys to do it. I just want to push that option out to you if you guys didn't know about it. And if you want to keep in touch with me and everything I've been doing, follow me on all social medias at the links down below in the description of every episode. But you can find me at Type and Sign pretty much on any platform, from X to Threads to TikTok to Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. But the main thing I want to push and promote is the YouTube channel. We are at this moment just one section, like a couple hours of watch time away from being the next level of monetization, which will equal my short videos being monetized, as well as having ads in my videos, which is pretty cool. So I appreciate everyone for showing up and helping grow the YouTube channel. If you didn't know, I drop old episodes of the podcast every single Monday over there. I drop a new gaming video every single Wednesday. I do daily shorts, usually for my daughter's Lunchbox Surprise series, where I've been doing, I did the Dinosaurs sitcom TV series from the 90s, did some Land Before Time, we got SpongeBob coming back again, Simpsons. There's a ton, hours upon hours of free content over there for you guys to watch, so definitely go check that out. I do the community post where I post the On This Day in Horror piece. If you don't want to look at it on Instagram, YouTube, you can go check it out on the Instagram page, the Rotten Reviews Instagram page, where I post that as well. And I will be doing some live streams over on YouTube here again shortly, so that's something else to look forward to. And we're going to be having some custom emotes, I think, as well. Whenever I get around to doing them, though, that's the big kicker, because I need time to do so, which I don't have right at the moment. But we will be dedicating some time to do that. Maybe you want to help the podcast a little bit more. Maybe you want to help me a little bit more. And everything from this next section I'm going to talk about, all the proceeds go back into either the podcast or the videos, whatever it might be. But you can check out the T-Plug link site down below. Check out my merch store. Buy some podcast-related merch. We got stickers, buttons, posters, T-shirts, hats, shorts. There's a ton of designs over there for the podcast, or options for the podcast logo. There's also some other merchandise over there as well, some John Candy designs and some Peanuts-esque inspired designs as well. So definitely go check that out. And I think that's enough of the housekeeping section, because you know what? You guys are here to listen to me talk about a movie and not about myself. We are talking about Omega Man. Not Omega Man. That's a good movie, though. We're talking about Omega Syndrome from 1986. It's an action thriller for an hour and 30-minute runtime. You can check this one out on Tubi. But guess what? There's 2 really good cuts on YouTube as well. So if you got a YouTube Premium, you get to skip all the ads and just watch it all for free, essentially. Not free, I guess, if you're paying for, premium, but that's besides the point. Anyways, this movie has 4.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, at 2.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. The description for this one, as read from IMDb: an ex-GI's daughter is abducted by a gang of white supremacists. He calls on one of his former armor buddies, and together they set out to track down the gang and rescue his daughter. This one is directed by Joseph Manduke. That name sounds familiar. They're best known for being the director for 1990's The Gumshoe Kid, the producer for 1964's The Pawnbroker, the director for 1975's Cornbread, Earl and Me, and the director for 2000's Rocket's Red Glare, which I don't know any of those movies at all. The writer for this one is John Sharkey, and sadly he hasn't done much work. He did this movie, of course, as well as in 1988 he was the writer for Double Revenge. We're now going to jump over to talk about a couple of cast members, and the first cast member we're going to talk about is Ken Wall, who's playing the character, the lead, Jack Corbett. Also, we did a podcast episode a few weeks ago where he was the lead in it as well, because he's the lead in the TV movie from 1986, The Gladiator. He was also Vinny for 65 episodes in 1987 to 1990 in the TV show Wise Guys. He was also Richie in 1979's The Wanderers, as well as Boomer Hayes in 1991's The Taking of Beverly Hills. And I gotta say, from what I remember, the Gladiator movie where he drives that truck and kind of soups up, I remember really enjoying that one, from what I can recall. I know it was only technically a couple weeks ago, but that feels like forever ago, to be honest with you, with me pre-recording a lot of these episodes. So, but I still do want to check out the Wise Guy TV show. Just putting that out there. I will eventually. Not sure when, because Tales from the Crypt is coming out on Shudder, and that's going to probably consume a lot of my time. Let's be honest now. Next cast member we're going to talk about is someone I can't pronounce their last name properly, but his name is George Dicenzio. Butchered that one. Anyways, he's playing the character of Phil, or also known as Philadelphia Horton. Interesting name. He's best known for being Sam in 1985's Back to the Future. He was Major Benchley in 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He was also known for being the character Bo in Hordak in 1985 for The Secret of the Sword, as well from 1985 to 1987 for 93 episodes. He was Bo in Hordak and Seahawk in She-Ra, Princess of Power. Just a little disclaimer. I haven't watched a single episode of She-Ra. Just putting that out there. And I also wasn't a big He-Man fan, to be honest with you guys. So I'm not really big on that universe. I like the villains in He-Man and She-Ra, but that's my extent. Is I don't even know their names. I just kind of know what they look like, and that's about it. Back to the movie at hand. The tagline for this one is ruthless, merciless, out of control. Shocking. That's a great tagline. Not really. But you know what? We just gotta work with what we got, and that's what we got for a tagline. We're gonna skip the trivia section because, like I said, this is a first time blind watch for me. So I know nothing about the movie, so I don't really want to spoil anything for myself. So we're gonna get ready to start on the movie at hand here in a few seconds. So that means for all you new listeners, if you don't want to be spoiled, a movie that came out in 1986, feel free to pause the episode now. Go watch it for free on Tubi or YouTube, wherever it might be. And yeah, just don't hate me for having to spoil the episode, because all the episodes are like that. So get used to it. Hopefully you'll get used to it. Hopefully you come back next week for another new episode. I'd appreciate it if you did. But with that being said, I know most of you fine folks are listening at home. Most likely, I assume. I don't know where you're listening. But if you're at home, hopefully you're comfy and relaxed, got some snacks, whatever it might be. If you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. Hopefully it makes the hours pass by a little bit quicker. And I know a lot of you guys do listen in the car when you're going shopping, going on vacation, just going for a drive, wherever it might be. Just make sure you keep your eyes on the road. That way you can get to go home nice and safely. Don't run over anyone. Don't hit any other vehicles. And you can come back for next week's episode. I mean, next week's episode is not really a priority, but I appreciate if you guys did show up for next week's episode, so please subscribe. But with that being said, let's get started on the movie at hand.
They are a secret, neo-Nazi, terrorist organization. Ruthless, merciless, and out of control. They call themselves Omega. But now they've started something with the wrong man.
Talking about my daughter here. You gotta help me, Philly. I want my daughter back.
Let the LAPD take care of
They took the only person in the world who cares about him.
Corbett, Jack P. Vietnamese Medal of Valor, silver.
I gotta know where you're going, Jack.
Why don't you ask Tudor?
I can't get anything out of him.
Maybe you don't know how to ask. U.S. Army, 1969. Where is she?
Now, he'll do everything he can.
These babies on rock and roll, pal. Infantry, MOS rifle. Well, you make Uzis look like muskets.
Because his way is the only way.
Tell you whatever you want to know.
To get his daughter back alive,
Vietnam, July 69.
he'll have to destroy Omega.
Come on, you mother!
Say goodnight, Gracie. The Omega Syndrome, starring Ken Wall, the thriller of the year.
So whenever a movie's starting out and we see that New World Pictures logo popping up on the screen to start out, and I gotta say I love seeing that New World Pictures logos popping up because I have a lot of good memories from that as a kid. And then we just see this couple walking down the street. It's nighttime. They just, mind their own business. Not doing anything. Got a little paper bag. Maybe got some groceries. But then we see a vehicle on the side of the road. And it's slowly starting to back up near them. Or going towards them, I guess. And then they get the couple's attention, and they're like, hey, can you guys help us? We're just looking for Spring Street. And the gentleman's like, hey, you just go down the street 2 blocks, take a right. They're like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And you can definitely tell the people in this vehicle, there's something wrong with them, because they go to drive away, but then they come back, and they get out, and they all have guns, and they shoot both of them, because it's an interracial relationship, and clearly these are the white supremacist people, because, you know, they're doing racist things. Then we just jump cut to a black screen after seeing that couple dead on the sidewalk. And then the intro credits start to roll in. And then we see Omega Syndrome pop up in a bright blue font. It's alright. Nothing crazy. There's no Omega sign or symbol in it, which I thought was a missed opportunity. But whatever. And then we have like this 80s kind of detective jazz style music playing. Not bad so far. And then we just like jump cut to a prison where we hear the radio going on. And it's talking about like shots being fired. It's CB radio. And we see this fenced in area where this guy's working on some electronics of some sort. But this other guy's pumping weights. And we see the Omega symbol on his forearm. And then we see this guy being brought out of prison with a bunch of armed guards. There's 3 of them. 2 have shotguns. I'm sure the third guy probably has a gun as well. Anyways, this guy's getting ready to snitch or turn on somebody. He's like, you don't know what you guys are doing. You know, they're going to find out. They're going to kill us all. Anyways, they get into the back of this van because they're going to give this guy a new life and everything. He's like, hey, you know, we're going to take care of you. You're a very important person to us. You know, give you a new life, you know, new career. Hell, even if you want a new dick, we'll get you a new dick. He's like, just screw off, guys. You're being a dickhead. And then we see this guy's having a smoke while he's handcuffed. And he's got the Omega symbol as well. And then apparently the guy in the van is Dunlap, or at least that's what they call him. Anyways, we see the van driving down this highway, and he's like, you guys don't know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with Omega. You know, they're a bunch of crazy guys. You know, they're just trying to keep the white race strong and powerful. So clearly having the Omega symbol means you're the racist. And then the van gets off the highway and starts going down a dirt road. And we hear everyone being like, all right, it's time to go into action. We see a bunch of different Omega guys. One's driving a tow truck with a car on the back of it. Another guy was standing on the bridge watching the van as it goes off the highway down the dirt road. And then the van comes down this road where the tow truck is. And he drops off his car. And the next thing you know, apparently the road's only wide enough for one vehicle to go past at a time. So now they're like, hey, we'll get out, we'll deal with the tow truck, don't worry, we'll get on our way. And the guy in the back's all freaking out, being like, oh, what's going on here, guys? I'm really scared, to be honest with you. He's like, don't worry about it, it's nothing, no big deal. Anyways, the armed guards start walking up to where the car was dropped by the tow truck. Then the tow truck drives away, and the buddy driving the tow truck just pulls out this control system and presses a button, and next thing you know, the car that he was towing just goes up in flames. And then the other guy just trying to get the inmate out of the van because he's handcuffed inside the van. And then everybody jumps out of the tow truck with a bazooka and just blows up the van. And then we see our lead, Jack, who's getting drunk at a bar, playing some pool, saying some stupid jokes to try and impress the ladies. Be like, yeah, this guy, he went to doctor, and he's like, I got some bad news for you and some really bad news. You only got 24 hours to live. What's really bad news? Should have called you yesterday. Classic dad joke. Kind of. Just bad joke in general. And then this girl laughs at the joke and comes over to him and be like, hey, can you light my smoke? And he goes to light with his Zippo. But apparently he's out of fuels and won't light. She's like, I want to quit anyway. She's like, where'd you get that Zippo? It's really nice. He's like, did you get it in Vietnam? He's like, nah, got it at a pawn shop. It was there in the really bad part of the neighborhood, though, if that counts. So then he starts to play pool with that lady. And then next thing you know, he cut to like a commercial by the looks of it, and next thing you know, he's waking up being like, oh damn, I'm late. By the way, can you get dressed and get out of the bed? She's like, you're not married, are you? He's like, no, you just need to leave. Go. So the girl that he just hooked up with, she's like, I really like the globe that you have on your nightstand beside your bed. I'm not sure why you would have a globe on your nightstand beside your bed, but whatever. Anyways, she's like, so do you ever take people with you on your trips that you do? Apparently he goes around the world a little bit, but he can only do it on like $120. I'm not really sure what's going on. Anyways, he's like, yeah, I do sometimes, but usually if they're a photographer. I'm not sure if he's a reporter or what he is really, or at this point in time. But anyways, he finally gets to the meeting that he's going to because he had a breakfast meeting set up or something. I'm not sure what kind of meeting or what it's for yet. We see Jack finally showing up for this meeting with this old gentleman, but we come to find out it's his dad because he then picks up a girl from the person and it's his daughter. And she calls the old guy grandpa, so I'm assuming they're all related. That would make the most sense, right? Anyways, they're out for lunch, and apparently she's got a boyfriend, and he wants to know about him, make sure that he's not married or whatnot. She's like, oh, here's his photo, Daddy. And he looks at it, and he's like, wow, what's the father, Dr. Frankenstein? She's like, that's not very funny, Dad. So they get done having their breakfast, and they're walking to the car, and she's asking her dad about some stuff. And by the sounds of it, her dad's a newspaper reporter now at this point in time in life. So then we see them driving around town a little bit, and of course, me being me, I gotta appreciate the scenery and all the old classic cars that are in this movie because, well, they look a lot better than modern day cars for the most part. But the whole time while they're driving around and leading up to this beforehand, we could see that they're being followed by some white supremacist guys, which I'm not sure why they're following them of all, because they're two white people, so I'm not sure what their game plan is. Maybe they're trying to recruit? Anyways, they stop at this little convenience shop, and Jake's like, hey, why don't you go look for some candy? I'm gonna go look around for a little bit. So upon walking into this convenience shop, there's 3 arcade machines on the wall, which I wish as a kid I could walk into a convenience shop and have 3 arcades on the wall, because that'd be pretty freaking cool, and I'd be playing them. But anyways, of course, the people that have been following them are now burglars, and they are now trying to rob the little store that they're in. Of course, the burglars are taking, like, the clerk's wallet and whatnot. And then, of course, they gotta go after Jack's daughter for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe because she's a pretty little blonde girl. Anyways, then Jack tries to fight them off. And he's holding off the one guy who's got the shotgun in hand. But then, the burglar gets the upper hand and, like, hits him with the side of the gun and drops him down to the ground. And as he's getting ready to pass out, he just sees like a necklace on the guy's shirt. And then we blur away, and next thing you know, he's in a police station talking to like the police chief. He's like, hey, you sitting in here eating yogurt and smoking, it's not going to find my daughter. And he's like, hey, I got enough stuff to deal with as it is. We'll get around to find her. We're looking for her, kind of. She's out there somewhere. And then walks in Al White, who's playing the character Sergeant Carlisle, who's now going to be taking over this case. And apparently they want to ask Jack some questions. He's like, I've been answering questions for the last 3 hours. Can you go find my daughter, please? Because I'm tired of sitting here waiting for answers. And then Carlisle's like, so we have information that there was an incident with your daughter at some point in time in the past. You want to let us know a little bit of the details on that? He's like, hey, I get to see my daughter once a month. Can you please go find her so I can continue to see her, please? Then we find out a little backstory. Jack's wife died of leukemia like 6 months ago. He was out of the country working, and apparently Lloyd, that's the grandfather, is holding that against him the whole time. So apparently the grandfather is actually the wife's dad and not his dad. There's a little bitterness between the two because, the father clearly blames his son-in-law for not being there for his daughter, as well as granddaughter, of course. And then as Jack's leaving the police station, of course, Lloyd is there, the grandfather. He's like, you just couldn't wait till you're home, huh? You just had to have that drink. So apparently he's blamed for going into the convenience store because he wanted to grab some beers. And, that's the reason why now the granddaughter, is missing. So I kind of find it funny, the police chief who's eating this yogurt because his wife put him on a diet. And he's tired of eating the yogurt because it tastes like shit. So he takes a red Twizzler stick and starts using that as a spoon to eat the yogurt. It sounds disgusting. But anyways, then we cut to this garage where apparently the racist people own and run, because they did have a tow truck, of course. And the guy answers the phone, and apparently is getting ready to do another hit because they have another guy they need to go capture. And they have Jack's daughter locked up in a back room. It's not like she's locked up, but there's nothing in there really. She's just sitting on like a bucket seat from an old vehicle that they probably just, they probably killed the guy who owned it and then just, chopped up the rest of it and kept the seat. So then we see the sergeant, the police chief in the room, and the sergeant's going over Jack's paperwork. He's like, yeah, see, I told you he was a wimp. And he's like, a wimp, what do you mean? He's like, he's a writer. The writers are wimps. And then the sergeant starts mentioning about all the Vietnam service he did. He's like, he was handing out the stuff like candy. Anyone can go to Vietnam and, fight a war. It's no big deal. And then the sergeant starts listing off all the medals that he's gotten over the years for doing what he did. And the police chief's like, they just hand them out to anyone for pretty much participation awards. What do you want? So now we meet Jack's old buddy, Phil, Philadelphia, who's running this gun range, and he's letting this little lady shoot a gun, and he's like filling up her ass as she's doing it. Anyways, he walks out. He's like, hey, you keep shooting the gun. I'll be back in a couple minutes. And he goes out to the hallway and sees Jack. He's like, wow, you look like shit. And there's a lot of tension between the two of them. And Jack's like, I really need your help. I'm in big trouble right now. And that's when Jack breaks the news that Jesse's been kidnapped. That's his daughter. And Phil's like, well, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I was in a liquor store and it was getting robbed. And next thing you know, they took Jesse. So Jack's come to Phil because apparently Phil used to deal guns to the gang members. He's like, hey, that's in the past. You know, I'm 80% legit now. I don't really do any of that non-legit shit because I don't want to go to jail. At first, Phil doesn't want to help him at all, but Jack's like, you know, you gotta help me, man. This is all I got. It's my daughter. That's the last thing I got in life. I don't have anything else. So, of course, Phil comes around to the softer side. He's like, all right, fine, we'll find your kid. So Jack goes back to talk to Phil because he went to the police station and got some paperwork that he thought led to his daughter, and apparently the cops think it's some Fiji warriors or something, some weird ass shit. And Phil's like, nah, it can't be. See the bandanas, the colors aren't the same. It's different colors, and that's a different tattoo than the Fiji guys would have had. So it's definitely not the Fiji guys. So then they're looking at this picture. I believe it's from the liquor store, and Jack's like, hey, I've seen that before. What is that tattoo? He's like, oh shit, I know what that tattoo is. It's the Omega symbol. So then we go back to the racist people's little hideout, little garage that they got. And they got this one guy who's working on all these devices for them. And this other guy is all excited because he's like, hey, you see that last salt and pepper that we did, the boom boom too? It's all over CNN, everything. You know, we're making the news now, boy. There's also a lot of terms and a lot of words that these racist people are making that I'm not going to repeat in the podcast just because I don't want to get blamed for any of this crap. So then Jack goes back to the police station to show the police chief what evidence he saw in the picture from the liquor store, being like, hey, look at the tattoo. And then the police chief gets all annoyed. He's like, hey, we don't need any extra on-duty, weekend warrior police officers. We got enough police officers here. And Jack's like, hey, I ain't worried about the police officers. I'm just worried about you not doing your job. Anyways, they got someone in for the robbery. So then they pull the guy in. He's covered in a bunch of different tattoos, none of which are the tattoo in the picture from the actual robbery. So then Jack leaves the police station and gets in the car with Phil. And Phil's like, so what's going on? And he's like, well, we're on our own for one thing because they don't believe us at all. He's like, good, that's fine. That's how it's always been. We'll do it ourselves because, well, that's what we always do. So the one crazy racist guy, his name is actually Yo-Yo, and he's a little paranoid because Mick is the one that works on all the devices like the bombs and shit. And he doesn't think Mick is in it for the right reasons. He's just in it for the money and the fame, I guess, and not the actual, white power bullshit, I guess. I don't know. And we see Jessie still in that little room. She's kind of going for some boxes, trying to find some garbage, trying to find something to either help herself get out or maybe to feed herself. But anyways, then one of the racist guys comes into the room. She jumps back in the bed to pretend that she's crying. At least he was nice enough, though, to drop off a box of fried chicken because, everyone loves some good old KFC. So then Jack and Phil go to stop at one of their friends' house, Harry. And apparently Harry does a lot of write-ups on, crazy people, essentially, is my guess, at least. And he's giving them a little bit of knowledge about the Omega. And apparently the Omega is very secretive. Like, nobody really knows anything about them. And they're pretty crazy. But apparently the only thing that they really know recently is because of the prison bus that blew up. And apparently they blew up the van, like we saw at the beginning of the movie. And apparently the Dunlap guy, or Ralphie, is still kind of barely alive in a little hospital bed. And then for some reason, Jack and Phil have a list of names, and they're going door to door to try and find these guys. And so far, they've been striking out 3-0. And then they go on to the next name in the list. I guess they're all former members of Omega because he talks to this one guy. He's like, man, I'm glad I got out before anyone actually got hurt. It's just a bunch of crazy guys. And I wasn't really into any of that kind of things. Apparently the guy they're questioning now was just a juvenile guy. He went around spray painting some stuff. He's like, the Omega guys, they're on a league of their own. I didn't want anything to do with them. Jack's like, well, you must know a little bit about them. Apparently this guy's clean and all. He's still trying to get his life back together, but yeah, he owns a giant house. So I'm not sure what exactly he's trying to get back in line, because, you know, he's got a massive looking house with a nice office and everything in it. So I'm not sure how old he's supposed to be, because at one point in time, he's going on about how he was juvenile and painting swastikas and being a little asshole and being a little dickhead. And now he's not that type of person anymore. But, like, he doesn't look like he's old enough to afford that home. Then they go to the next place, and it's this Terry guy. And he doesn't want to answer the door. He's like, nah, you guys aren't coming in. So they break down the door. It's got this old, like, Russian-style music playing. There's Russian, you know, pictures all over the wall. And he's trying to be a dickhead, but he's this tiny little guy. He's like, no, we're going to kick your ass if you keep it up. So then Jack asks for Terry to lift up his sleeve so he can see if the tattoo's there. And then next thing you know, Jack's getting sacked, and the guy's running out of his own apartment to run down the hallway. And Phil tries to run after him, but Phil's got a bad knee, so then he just kind of falls up against the wall. Jack tries to run after the guy, trips over a garbage can on the alleyway, goes to climb up the fence, but the guy kicks him down. Next thing you know, the guy's getting in the car and driving away, and Jack's all pissed off. But then, out of nowhere, Phil just shows up being like, hey, you need a taxi cab? Let's go chase this bastard down. This Terry guy's driving his car like a maniac, crashing into a bunch of things, but apparently Phil's little, like, gremlin-looking car, Pinto, can keep up no problem. So then Phil's like, Jack, you know, you're nuts. And he's like, I'm nuts. You're the one driving, Phil. You could drive a little bit better, you know. And the next thing you know, we see Terry's car hitting like another car, ramping off, doing a nosedive into the pavement. And next thing you know, we see an ambulance coming. It's daylight now, and we see the front end of that car. It looks like the guy's head went through the windshield, and he's clearly on the stretcher being stretchered away. And then the police chief shows up being like, you guys are some kind of guys, huh? You're some piece of work, huh? Told you guys to just let the actual officers do the work, and now you're messing everything up. And then the reason why Harry ran away is because he's a convicted child molester, and Jack's like, you better hope that he didn't do anything to Jesse. He's like, no, you don't have to worry about it. He's only into little boys. It's fine. It's like, oh wow, this movie's really dark. So then we see Yo-Yo and one of his buddies in this parking garage area, and they're waiting for this doctor to show up because, well, Yo-Yo is going to try and murder the guy because that's the next guy on the hit list. And this doctor guy actually drops Yo-Yo to the ground and starts to get away, but then the other buddy tackles him, and next thing you know, it's 2-on-1, and the doctor's getting stabbed in the stomach, and Yo-Yo's all crazy, just like jumping around being like, yeah, I want to do more. I want to do more killing. So then after the doctor's dead on the ground, Yo-Yo decides to take his gold watch. And the other buddy pulls up the truck and grabs out his Polaroid camera and starts taking Polaroids of the dead body while Yo-Yo's all upset with his gold watch on and be like, hey, ask me what time it is. Come on, I got a new watch. Ask me what time it is. I dare you. We see Jack and Phil back at their little, well, Phil's spot, I guess. And Jack's waking Phil up off his little cot. He's like, come on, we gotta go. I'm tired of looking at all this crap. Because he's got Vietnam stuff all over the wall. He's like, well, you know what? We're not kids anymore, Jack. And that's all I got. So this is my memories, I guess, essentially. So then we see, I believe it's Carl, who's meeting up with Dr. Lloyd Pearson's, Jesse's grandfather. And I believe Carl is one of the Omega guys. Well, he is now because he just froze down Polaroids of the other doctor dead. He's like, see, you're going to have to do some work for me. That way your granddaughter doesn't get hurt. And see, here's some proof because we've done this work, and your granddaughter can be next. So then Carl puts his vial down on the desk, and apparently something that doesn't show up in blood test or toxicology test or whatever. And he's like, we'll switch a life for a life. You want your granddaughter's life alive, and we want somebody dead. So then Jack and Phil get an idea as to where the Omega people are hiding. So they go to this junkyard garage area, and they go in to talk to this one guy who's working on a car. And of course, he doesn't want to talk to Jack at all. And Phil's like, hey, well, that's not really nice. You shouldn't be talking to my buddy like that. So then Phil starts kicking his ass. And then Jack's like, hey, I see the Nazi symbol on your forearm. I'm looking for someone who stole my daughter. And the guy keeps giving the wrong answers to Jack and Phil, so Phil starts throwing him around the garage a little bit. So then Jack's like, hey, Phil, let's leave the guy alone. Maybe he doesn't actually know anything. And then as he's leaving the garage, he sees the necklace they saw during the robbery. So then Jack starts freaking out and starts beating the shit out of the guy. And then the guy starts fighting back, but eventually Jack gets him down to the ground, gets him knocked out. And then Phil's like, you know what? I'm getting too fat and old to be doing these fighting crap. and my knee hurts a lot. So we're still at the garage, and Jack gets the police chief and a couple officers to show up, and they start questioning the guy, but the guy's like, no, I want my lawyer, I know my rights, I'm not talking to you. So then the police chief and Jack leave the room and take the guy with them, and for some reason Phil decides to take a trophy off the wall, being like, yeah, it's mine now. So then after the police leave, Phil's like, hey, you see this trophy before? He shows it to Jack. Apparently it's the same trophy that was on the wall of the other guy they checked earlier on that said he was reformed and wasn't, part of the mega crew anymore. It's like kind of odd that he would have the same trophy on his wall in the same place and the same time and everything, right? So they go back to Carl's place, and Carl's the reformed Nazi guy. No, never had anything bad to do with the Omega. Just, spray paint a little bit, nothing major. And, Carl comes out of his home, and he's like, hey, Billy, you gotta stop ringing the doorbell. Go and call your parents. You're being a little brat. And then next thing you know, Jack's standing there with a gun at his temple, being like, hey, so you're gonna come on a drive with us, and you're going to sit in the trunk, actually, because we're not dealing with you. He's like, no, come on, guys. You're not going to make me sit in the trunk. He's like, yeah, you're actually sitting in the trunk. So they finally get to the location where they're going, and we see it kind of looks like it's outside the garage again. And Carl's like, hey, so we should probably be working together, right? Because we're both trying to take out the Omega. I'm not sure why you're here treating me like an asshole. And, I'm not scared to die, but I don't think I should have to die because of this. All right, guys? We then see the police chief, Sergeant Carl, and another agent. They're checking on the guy that got blown up in the van, and they're like, hey, this is the only lead we have to the Omega guys. And then they get into an elevator because they don't think the guy's gonna talk at all because he's in a full body cast. And that's when we then see Dr. Lloyd Pearson showing up because he's got that vial, because to save his granddaughter's life, he's gonna pretty much kill off the last snitch that is related to the Omega. So then the police chief finally puts two and two together, be like, oh, we gotta go back to the hospital room before, the guy dies. And they go back to the hospital room, and next thing you know, we see he's still alive, and we see Lloyd sitting on the chair being like, I just killed my granddaughter. And they're like, what are you talking about? So then we're back inside the garage where we see Jack beating the crap out of Carl. And Carl's like, you can't scare me. I'm fighting for my people, and I'm doing what I need for my people. So I feel fine about you kicking my ass right now. So to try and make Carl talk, Phil gets this idea to do something that they used to do back in Nam. A real sick thing they used to do to some of the enemies. And they put this tar around Carl, and then they put gas on it, and they get ready to light it and call him a flambe. He's like, all right, you could do it, guys. I'm not going to talk. And anyways, Jack gets closer with the lighter. He's like, oh man, my lighter's not lighting. That's really embarrassing. I wonder why it's happening right now. So then Phil's like, hey, I bet you $100 you can get that lighter not going. Come on, you're not going to be able to get the lighter going. So then Jack starts to try and play with the lighter. And Carl's like, hey, no, all right, guys, let's be serious here. I'll tell you whatever you need to know. So now it's the next morning, and we see Jack and Phil coming out of the house with arsenal of guns, and the police chief finally shows up being like, Jack, I've been looking for you all night. How about you and G.I. Joe go put the guns back and let the police actually do the work, okay? Everything's going to be fine. Just let us do the work. Then Jack points the gun at the police chief, being like, all right, you don't have to cause any harm. I'm not going to arrest you or anything. So then Jack shoots up the cop car and pretty much blows out the rad. So the car is useless now at this point in time. So then they get into Phil's car and just drive away and leave the police chief there. We see Jack and Phil showing up to where the Omega are known to be hiding, and Phil breaks off the lock on one of the doors, and they start sneaking in, but of course they don't see anyone at this point in time. So Yo-Yo, the crazy racist guy, goes to talk to Saxon. Saxon seems like he's a leader. He's kind of the guy that's pumping iron the whole time, being that big buff macho guy. Anyways, Yo-Yo's like, hey, so Tudor got caught by the cops, and the other guy's still alive. So Saxon's like, all right, let's keep everyone on high alert because, clearly our plans aren't working out how we had technically hoped they would sadly work out. And then we see Jack fighting one Nazi guy that came down off the elevator, and he's then hitting another guy on the staircase, and he drops him down in front of Phil, and it's like, it looks like one of your buddies is dropping in on you. And then Yo-Yo picks up this walkie-talkie radio to try and talk to Roston, I think what's his name, and clearly it's the guy that came off the elevator that Jack just knocked out a couple minutes ago. So then Yo-Yo sends out all the guys with guns to be like, hey, we gotta be on high alert. And I forget what the bomb guy's name is, but he's like, you can't be sending people out there to be just shooting up like crazy. You know, the whole building's going to go up in flames if you're going to do that. And then as the bomb maker's walking away, Yo-Yo just decides to shoot him in the back because he hates him. We see a very pissed off Saxon going into Jesse's room because he's like, alright, fine. Grandfather's not going to kill for us, so I guess we're going to have to kill you. And he goes over to the bed to see where she was, but it's just a fake body underneath, like with pillows and shit made up. And she throws like some kind of cleaner in his face, and it like kind of burns his face, and then it gives her enough time to get away though. And then the guy that Jack and Phil have hostage that was at the bottom of the elevator tells Jack where to go to get Jesse. And as he's walking that way, it looks like they're in a higher up level a little bit. A bunch of the racist guys just start shooting at him, so then we have a gunfight breaking out. So then we see Yo-Yo showing up with his gun. He's shooting at Jack and Phil as they're hiding in this room. And then Phil's like, you know what, I'm going to handle this. And he walks out into the opening where Yo-Yo is. Yo-Yo's trying to reload his gun, but he's too stupid to do so, I guess. So then Phil shoots him, and we assume Yo-Yo's probably dead at this point. We see Jessie running away from Saxon, and she runs up to the roof of all places and grabs this little wire and tries to like tie off the door so Saxon can't get through. And then we see Jack and Phil trying to get closer and closer where she is, assuming they know the right direction. And the buddy that they have like kidnapped is telling them where to go, and then they run into more Nazi guys and they gotta kill them. Next thing you know, we see Saxon at the roof door where he just puts his knife through the door and cuts the wire off of being like, no big deal, I'm gonna get you now, you little brat. So then Saxon's like, hey Jesse, there you are. I was wondering where you went to on this roof. I'm not really mad at you anymore, Jesse. I just want to talk to you. And then as Jack is walking around the floor below, he hears Jesse screaming, goes up to the roof, and that's when he gets attacked by Saxon. And he's like, hey, it's over now, alright, dude? You just need to stand down, and your people are all pretty much dead at this point in time, and you need to stop trying to stab me with that knife, because now I'm going to have to kick your ass. We see a lot of back and forth between the fight between Jack and Saxon, and at one point Saxon picks up a piece of wood to try and cave in Jack's head, and Jack's dodging the shots pretty good, but next thing you know, we see Jack just pushing Saxon off the roof, and he does like a backflip down to the ground, and next thing you know, we see Jack just hugging Jesse, being like, hey, you okay? It's been a little while, huh? Then we see the cops just showing up, and they park right in front of Saxon's dead body on the ground. And then we see Phil inside the base, I guess, that the Omega run. And he's just opening up the fridge, grabbing a beer, being like, oh, hey, Jack. Hey, Jesse. How's it going, guys? And Saxon's like, wow, you must be Jesse. You're really growing up. Boy, are you like 40 now? She's like, no. He's like, so you do remember me, huh? She's like, yeah, you're a pretty hard guy to forget. He's like, yeah, you hear that, Jack? Pretty hard guy to forget, even though you've ditched me for X amount of years. So then we see the three of them outside talking to the police chief. He's like, alright, you guys are gonna be in a lot of trouble. Jack's like, what do you want me to do now? You want me to like shine your badge? He's like, no, just go before I do get in trouble. And then the police chief pulls out a Twizzler again, and Phil's like, hey, you got another one of those? He's like, fine, here, take it. And Phil just gives it to Jesse, and Jesse's like, hey, so by the way, how did you guys find me? And Jack and Phil both go talk at the same time, and there's like this happy, good family vibe, and then the outro credits start to roll, and that's the end of the movie. It was an interesting movie. I didn't mind it. I don't mind Ken Wall. He's pretty decent, 80s, early 90s style actor. I wish there was a little bit more acting, but I do like the concept of the movie a lot. And for them being super racist, you don't see a whole lot of racist stuff for the most part, which is good. Because I'm assuming there'd be a lot of restrictions on that kind of crap back in the day, as is now as well. But on the Rotten scale out of 10, I'll give it a solid 5. I thought it wasn't too bad. If you want to, double team this one with Gladiator, the Trek movie that Ken Wall was in, it's a pretty good movie combination because it's Ken Wall in that one is revenging his brother's death, where in this one he's trying to save his daughter. They kind of go hand in hand, sort of. But we're at that point in time where we got to pick what we're going to watch next week. So this is going to be a first time watch for me, I think. I could be wrong. I might have watched it, about 10 or 15 years ago. I can't really remember. But this one's going to be a fun one because it's got Tommy Chong in it. It's a full moon feature related movie. We are watching Evil Bong remastered on Amazon Prime. Description as read, terror strikes when slackers lay their hands on a bong from the 1960s. It's a comedy horror movie. It's got a 3.9 out of 10 on IMDb and a runtime of 84 minutes. Came out in 2006. Thought it was older than that. Oh well. But with that being said, hopefully you guys will check that episode out next week. If you want to check out the movie beforehand, feel free to go do so on Prime, or just sit back, relax, and wait till I talk about it next week. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and as always, make sure to check out the outro band, trauma-based horror band, Blood Opera. You can find them on all different forms of music, app, programs, whatever it might be. I'm getting tired, to be honest with you guys. But you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, whatever it might be. If you're listening to this episode right now via Spotify, they are directly linked to this episode as well. And as always, make sure to check out all my social media links down below if you want to keep in touch. Check out the Rotten Views Podcast Instagram page, as well as check out the YouTube channel for hours upon hours of free content
for you guys to enjoy at no charge, other than just hit that like button, leave a follow, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.